welcome back to Tuesday's Slor Lesson, reading from Beasts of Olympus, Beastkeeper by Lucy Coates. In yesterday's lesson we started to read through chapter 3 and we saw that Hephaestus was showing Demon around the stables and he was starting to find out where things were and where he was going to sleep and things like that. Today we're going to be reading the next part of chapter 3, so it would be a good idea to get the questions from today's lesson up now so that you know what to look for as we read through. So let's get into the next part of chapter 3. There was just so much to take in. He'd never seen so many different beasts, most of them dangerous, magical, and with hard to remember names. He needed to think. "Shut up!" he bawled. To his surprise, it worked. Kind of. The noise fell by at least a quarter. "Thank you. Now let's sort this mess out. Who's the smelliest? I'm going to start with them." Immediately the noise rose to a higher pitch than before. But Demon could hear two words being repeated over and over in lots of strange and different voices. "Stinky cows! Stinky cows! Stinky cows!" He looked down the stables and saw a huge pen with some rather shamefaced horned heads hanging over the rails. The horns were golden and had stars on the ends which shone with a gentle light. They belonged to some rather fat cows with coats the colour of a red sunset. Demon knew they must be the famous cattle of the sun, resting after months of being dragged back from the lands of Geryon the giant by the hero Heracles. "We can't help it," the cows all mooed. "It's that leftover ambrosia cake. It doesn't suit our stomachs. It gives us terrible gas." The other beasts jeered and hissed as Demon walked down towards them, avoiding a row of snapping jaws and tearing claws on either side. "Stinky cows! Stinky cows! Stinky cows!" It was sadly true. The cattle of the sun stank more than any of the other beasts. They reeked. They honked. No wonder the whole of Olympus smelled of poo. The stink was so strong that Demon staggered back from their pen and bumped into the barred door of a stable opposite. A large clawed paw whipped out and caught him on the shoulder, ripping his tunic and tearing deep into his flesh. Demon jerked away and fell to his knees, trying not to scream. And that's where we're going to leave it for today. So in tomorrow's video, we'll find out who that claw belonged to and whether or not Demon will be okay. But now let's have a look at your questions for today. So the first question is, how do you think Demon was feeling about all the noise that he had to deal with from the animals? And there are a few clues in there with the language that the author has used, especially at the beginning of the extract. Question 2 is, how do you know that the cows were ashamed of being smelly? And again, there's some language in there when it talks about the cows. It says that they look a certain way, if that's a bit of a clue. So again, look at the language surrounding how the cows are described. And the last question is asking whether you think the animals are kind and why or why not. So think about what we've learned about the animals so far, how they're talking about other animals, how they're talking to Demon, and whether or not you think they are kind. That's all for today's video. As always, we look forward to seeing your work. Make sure you send it to the Year 4 email address or your individual class email addresses, and I shall see you in tomorrow's lesson. Thanks for watching. Bye!